Welcome back. Reggie again speaking about healing America's narratives, the feminine, the masculine, and our collective national shadow, becoming more fully human. So we're taking a deeper dive into each of the 9 traits of shadow. In the last episode, we took a look at violence as one of those traits. In the previous 3 episodes, or 4 episodes before that, we looked at bigotry, fear, arrogance, and ignorance. That's reverse order. So we're going to stay with violence today, since violence is a historically and currently a large part of American culture. And again, I'm going to read a piece from the book, which I rarely do in these recordings, but this is relevant. This is a brief, uncomfortable look at the history of the United States. It uses the word bloodbath because in his looking at the trauma that occurred in South Africa, and the almost kind of miraculous transition in South Africa when Nelson Mandela became president. Bessel van der Kolk, who's one of the top experts on trauma in the world today, spoke about the kind of the miracle of Archbishop Tutu, Nelson Mandela, Alex Bahrain, and others who wanted to, quote, make sure that the birth of South Africa was not a bloodbath. They learned from India that if a nation gets born out of bloodbath, it will never recover. That's a quote from Bessel van der Kolk. So I'm going to continue now reading what appears in my book. In other words, my view of this. As a nation, America remains an experiment. We were conceived through the fertilization of ideas that gave voice to some and subjugated others. We were born through a bloodbath that pitted Brit against Brit on land stolen from indigenous peoples and developed by kidnapped Africans. We were raised on enslavement, land and property theft, massacre, betrayal, and peasant labor. We were reborn in an attempt to maintain the experiment through an anything but civil bloodbath with ourselves, from which we have yet to fully recover. And we were reborn yet again as a financial and military superpower as a result of a global bloodbath. We regularly perpetrate and perpetuate violence against others while refusing to acknowledge and address in any effective way the everyday violence we commit against ourselves. Not yet 250 years old, we're lost in a national adolescence, thinking we're invincible and immortal, despite clear evidence that we are neither. Not only have we not recovered from our bloodbaths of birth and rebirth in any whole, integrated sense, we continue to choose to bathe ourselves and others in blood, literally and metaphorically, because that is the normal we know. Now, that was uncomfortable to look at for me. It was uncomfortable to write it. I'm going to guess it's uncomfortable to hear it. But again, as long as we continue to project the idea of violence out there, oh, those people are violent, we're not. We only have to respond to them in language they understand. We will continue to deny our own violent tendencies and the 100+ gunshot deaths a day. That's only from gunshot wounds, about 2/3 of which are due to suicide. Why would so many people in the land of the free and the home of the brave take their own lives? May there be something unhealthy about our culture and society? So until we start to look with reality, with clear eyes at what's really going on, and our political representatives and our performance news celebrities stop pointing their fingers at each other and rolling their eyes, until we really do this work, what we experience as a nation in terms of violence, polarization, blaming, inequity, lack of health and caring, that's just going to continue. It's not going to go away magically. It's obvious that Congress is dysfunctional. They get almost nothing done because they're too busy pitting themselves against each other. So the promise of America, the goal of working toward a more perfect union, the people we've entrusted with doing that, some of them actually are wonderful and trying to do a good job on both sides of the aisle. A significant number of them are not doing a good job, don't care to do a good job, and just want to see themselves on Twitter and other social media. Until we can really address that, the fears and concerns we have about polarization, violence, inequity, lack of health and caring, not to mention the impacts of the heat that we're feeling in the summer of 2023 across the country, that's not going to go away by magic. Right? So I hate to be a kind of a downer here, but we're talking about healing America's narratives. And there are lots of truths that neither our politicians, because they want to get reelected and they don't want to say things that makes us uncomfortable, and our performance news celebrities don't talk about, either because they're ignorant of what's going on, or they just refuse to acknowledge it because it doesn't get them either the campaign funding or the advertisers that they want and need to continue their professional careers. So thank you for tuning in. I believe the next time we speak, it will probably be about greed. All right. So hang in there, and I'll see you the next time.